I'm actually a climate scientist. I've been involved with the IPCC in different capacities over many years. I take part in all of the COPs as well, just as context. My question was about the Paris Agreement alignment of the scenarios that Woodside is using to justify its present business plan. I have questions about that. Woodside has claimed that there are about 200 Paris-aligned pathways. It's almost universally accepted now that Paris alignment means limiting warming to two things: 1.5 degrees with no or limited overshoot, and secondly, to bringing global greenhouse gas emissions back to net zero in the second half of the century. Probably only about 50 scenarios in the most recent IPCC assessment that align with these Paris Agreement goals. Formerly, they belong to category C1A, and you can find them in the summary for policymakers if you haven't found them before. There were therefore not 200 aligned scenarios that Woodside has claimed. And I'm just wondering, and I want to get to this, what interpretation of the Paris Agreement Woodside actually has. The other 150 scenarios don't align with either the warming limit or with the requirement that greenhouse gas emissions get back to net zero sometime this century. So I want to ask two things. Firstly, what exactly is Woodside's interpretation of the Paris Agreement, and how does it differ from the widely acknowledged and accepted understanding that it is to limit warming to 1.5 degrees and bring greenhouse gas emissions to net zero this century? Secondly, given that Woodside has apparently cherry-picked an extreme pathway from the IPCC database that does not, to me, appear aligned with the Paris Agreement's goals as I've outlined them, I'm wondering what justification Woodside has for using these pathways, and what the implications are, whether the company has evaluated what the implications are of relying on these extreme pathways to justify its business plans to investors and shareholders. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Hare, and thank you for the work you've done on this very important matter. I think we've dealt with a lot of the questions you raised in terms of Paris. I think you've made a statement about the different scenarios. We wouldn't say we've cherry-picked one different scenario. We'd say there's a range of scenarios, and I think otherwise we've fairly well done it. Meg, any further comment?
Yeah, I would reiterate that one of the key questions facing us is the tremendous uncertainty ahead of us. And the IPCC, as you noted, have many different pathways that can allow the world to achieve the outcomes of the Paris alignment. And if we look at the things that are fundamentally within our control, we're taking action on our Scope 1 and 2 emissions by working to reduce our net equity Scope 1 and 2 emissions to zero by 2050 or sooner. Again, fulfilling that aspirational goal. We've got clear targets for the very near and midterm. We've got plans to support our customers in reducing their emissions, which is our Scope 3. So I think we've addressed the question already. Thank you.